In 2026, if you're a millennial woman with a phone, you could not escape this brand. Not because they were running ads everywhere, and not because a celebrity told you to buy it, because your friend posted about it, and then her friend, and then her friend, and so on. And then someone you followed but didn't even know. Glossier wasn't a beauty brand, it was a feeling. Your face, but better. Not the face the industry told you want, but yours. And people didn't just buy it, they wanted to belong to it. By 2021, Glossier was valued at $1.8 billion, and a year later, the founder laid off the third of the company, closed every store, and the founder, she walked away as CEO 6 months after that. The brand that built the most loyal community in beauty couldn't figure out how to make money from it. Today, we're breaking down how a company that invented the modern beauty playbook forgot to run it. Hey, it's Jimmy Kim, and each and every week on Why It Failed, we break down the companies that looked unstoppable until they weren't. Not just what happened, but the marketing decisions underneath, the growth bets, the moments where the answer was right there and nobody took it. And today, Glossier, one of the most studied brands in direct-to-consumer history, and is still one of the most misunderstood failures. To understand what Glossier had, you have to understand what it was built against. In 2010, the beauty industry looked something like this. Department stores, counters staffed by women in white lab coats telling you what your skin needed. Magazine ads featuring faces that didn't even look like real faces. In the product lines, there were like 400 SKUs designed to confuse you into buying more than you needed. It was an industry built on insecurity, and the message was always you're not enough, but this product might help. Emily Weiss was 25 years old and working as a fashion assistant at Vogue when she started noticing something. She started spending times around models and editors and beauty insiders, and the question she kept asking them was simple. What do you actually have on your shelf? Not what you're paid to promote, but what do you actually use? She started a blog called In the Gloss. She goes to women's houses on weekends and sits on the bathroom floor, and she interviews them about their routines. And these aren't celebrities or experts, they're just real women. And by 2013, Into the Gloss had 1.3 million monthly readers. And she realized something that most beauty executives hadn't. The audience didn't want to be told what to buy. They wanted to be asked what they loved. That's not a small insight. That's a completely different relationship between a brand and a customer. All right, so it's 2014 and she launches Glossier. 4 products, a face mist, a moisturizer, a skin tint, and a lip balm. Prices between $12 and $26. The pitch, skin first, makeup second. Your face, but better. And within a week, the Instagram account goes live and it has 13,000 followers before a single product had shipped. People were following the mood board. The product launched and the internet did the rest. The millennial pink bubble wrap became a cultural signal. Unboxing videos racked up millions of views, and at one point, the peer referrals drove over 70% of Glossier's online sales. The customers were the marketing department, and here's why it matters. Because building a community that markets for you, that's not a tactic, that's a moat. The question Glossier never fully answered was, how do I use that moat and make it into a business model? The investors showed up fast. $8.4 million Series A, $24 million Series B, $52 million Series C, and March 2019, 5 years in, Sequoia Capital leads a $100 million Series D with a valuation of $1.2 billion. Glossier was a unicorn. And with that valuation comes pressure, not from the customers, but from the cap table. Because here's the math that changes everything. Beauty companies trade at roughly 2 to 3 times revenue. Tech companies, they trade at 10 to 20 times revenue. If Glossier can call themselves a tech company, investor stakes were worth 5 times more on paper. So Glossier started describing itself as a tech company. They hire hundreds of engineers and they announce an app, a social beauty platform where customers could shop and interact. It sounded like the future, except nobody in the company could clearly describe or explain what the app was going to do or what it was going to be called. Author Marissa Meltzer wrote an entire book about Glossier. She talked to dozens of insiders. No one person could tell her exactly what the app was. In July 2021, Glossier raises $80 million more, a Series E, with a valuation of $1.8 billion. And 6 months later, January 2022, they lay off 80 people. Mostly engineers, mostly tech team. The app that justified the billion-dollar valuation was gone without ever launching. And I want to stop you there because This is the moment where the story changes. A brand that was built entirely on authenticity had spent 3 years pretending to be something it wasn't. Not for the customers, but for the investors. Look, when you let investors define your identity, you stop being the kind of company that you actually were. Glossier was a community-powered beauty brand. That's real, valuable, and a defensible thing. But beauty didn't get you 20 times revenue multiples, so they became a tech company. They raised money at tech valuation, hired engineers for an app that nobody could define, and then laid them all off. You know who pays the price for this story? Not just the investors, but the culture, the trust, the community they had spent years building. The lesson is that you should know what you are, build that, price it honestly, and the right investors will find you. While the tech pivot continues to happen quietly, the product strategy was starting to crack publicly. In March 2019, Glossier launches Glossier Play. Bold colors, glitter, graphic liner, a complete departure from everything that made Glossier what it was. A brand spent 5 years training their audience that Glossier meant one thing: skin first, barely there, in your face, but better. Play meant something entirely different. And the reality was it shut down in just under a year. Customers didn't want it, not because it was bad, but because it wasn't what they came for. Then August 2020, an anonymous Instagram account called Out of the Gloss goes live. It's run by former Glossier retail employees. The company called them editors, and they were sharing stories of racism, discrimination, and retaliation from managers. The first post gets like 25,000 likes in just hours. CNN covers it, Fortune covers it, it's literally everywhere. And for a brand that's built entirely on a promise of we listen and we're different, we're here for you, this isn't just a PR problem, it's a values problem. The brand was telling the world it stood for something, and the people who worked there were saying the opposite. Emily Weiss issues a public apology. Glossier donates $500,000 to social justice organizations and tries to push this under the rug. But the damage is done to the community, and the actual moat that the brand had, well, it started deteriorating. And it's happening the exact same moment of the pandemic, which hurts the foot traffic of the stores that they just opened. Two things go wrong at once, neither of them fixable with just a statement. All right, so it's August of 2020 and Glossier lays off an entire retail staff. Every store employee gone. In January 2022, 80 more corporate employees laid off, a third of the company and mostly tech. CEO and founder Emily Weiss sends an email to the staff. She writes, "We prioritize certain strategic products that distracted us from the laser focus we needed to have in our core business. We got ahead of ourselves on hiring, and these missteps are on me." 6 months later, she steps down as CEO. They bring in Kyle Lehigh and she takes over. Lehigh makes the decision that Glossier swore it would never make. She signs a deal with Sephora. The brand that spent 8 years telling the world that they didn't need a retailer is now in Sephora. And that's not a pivot. That's a reversal from everything the brand stood for. And the layoffs don't stop. 24 more in 2022 after Sephora restructuring. And then as recent as early 2026, 54 more people are gone. A third of the workforce again. 3 CEOs in 4 years, hundreds of layoffs, and a brand trying to answer the same question it's been running from. What kind of company are we actually? Glossier's entire business model was built on trust. The audience trusted the blog, they trusted the product recommendation, and they trusted the brand's values. That trust is what made the community-driven word of mouth possible, and that's why 70% of those sales came from referrals. The moment the brand's internal culture contradicted its external promise, that trust cracked. And here's the thing about trust as a community brand. It doesn't quietly heal, it becomes a story. The Instagram account Out of the Gloss moment wasn't a PR crisis, it was a product failure. The product was the community, and the community got hurt. Okay, so here's the part that nobody talks about. The brand promise and the tech problem, those are recoverable if the underlying business is sound. But Glossier wasn't in both of those cases. At exactly the moment the competitive landscape flopped. When Glossier launched in 2014, there was no playbook for a community-built beauty brand. They invented it. By 2022, every brand in beauty had run the same play. Rare Beauty, Rhodes, Charlotte Tilbury, e.l.f. The category was flooded with brands that had communities, Instagram aesthetics, and founder stories. And not just smaller brands. Selena Gomez launches Rare Beauty in September of 2020. She had 14 million Instagram followers before a single product shipped. Hailey Bieber launched Rhode in June of 2022, and the waitlist hit 1 million people before the launch. These aren't beauty companies that are built on communities. They're communities that launched beauty companies. The order of operation flipped. Glossier invented the modern community beauty playbook. By the time they were fighting to survive, they were competing against people who had 50 million followers before they made anything. And they were doing it while cutting teams, closing retail stores, and trying to figure out what kind of company they were. That's not a fair fight, but Glossier gave the industry the playbook and they didn't update it. Glossier invented the community beauty model. By 2022, every brand had run that play. The question stopped being, do you have a community? And it became, what does your community have that ours doesn't? Glossier's answer in 2022 was less clarity, fewer products, a brand identity that had gotten blurry, and a trust problem that hadn't fully been resolved. That first mover's advantage they had didn't protect them forever. What protects you is going deeper on what's working, building so much loyalty, so much product deception, so much community ownership. That thing you built becomes irreplaceable. Glossier was the first. They just let everyone get better at it. All right, operator mode. Let's go and break this thing down. Point number one. Don't let investors define what kind of company you are. Glossier was a community-powered beauty brand that's real valuable and it's absolutely defensible. But the beauty multiples aren't tech multiples, so they became a tech company and spent years working on an app that nobody could describe and laid off an entire team when the math stopped working. The brand paid for the distortion with culture, trust, and time. Know what you are and build with that. Point number two, your community is an infrastructure, not marketing. Glossier treated community like a distribution channel, a way to get customers to the door. The smarter play is to treat the community like a product, invest in it, protect it, and make every decision as your most loyal customers are waiting. Because in a community brand they are, the Instagram account out of the gloss moment was a product failure. The product was the community and the community got hurt. And if you build a brand on trust, you have to earn it internally as much as you do externally. Point number three, go deeper on what's working before you go wider. Boy Brow, which was one of Glossier's first products, launched in 2015. Still Glossier's most beloved product even 10 years later. They never found the second Boy Brow. Not because they couldn't, because they were too busy building an app, launching Glossier Pay, opening retail stores, and trying to figure out what a tech company meant. There's a version of Glossier that does nothing but obsess over 5 core products and the community built around them. That company probably would still exist today with its original founder. And point number 4, when a community brand stumbles, speed matters. The Instagram account out of the gloss moment was in August of 2020. The Layoffs that signaled a real reset was January of 2022. That's 18 months apart for the brand, failing to rebuild its trust with the community, and it had built its entire business on. In retention marketing, we say the window of win-back is a disengaged customer in weeks, not months. The same applies to culture. Move fast, be specific, and don't donate $500,000 and write a public apology and move on, because the community that loved you is also the community that will talk about what you did next. Glossier didn't fail because the product was bad. Boy Brow was still one of the best eyebrow products ever made. Cloud Paint, genuinely great. Bomb.com had been in people's pockets for a decade. It failed because the brand tried to do 3 things at once: a tech company, a retail chain, and an indie direct-to-consumer darling that made everyone feel seen. And it wasn't fully any of them. The brand that invented the modern beauty community ended up competing against celebrities who started with 50 million followers. That's not a fair fight, but Glossier handed them the playbook, forgot to update it, let the gap close while it was distracted, and built an app that nobody wanted. Next week, I'm breaking down another brand. Look, I appreciate when you can give me feedback, so make sure you can like and subscribe to let me know that you really enjoyed this video, especially if you got this far. I'm taking suggestions of brands, so make sure you leave them in the comments below and let me know, because I'm always looking for fun companies to go research, investigate, and shoot these videos on. I'm Jimmy Kim, and this is Why It Failed.